Good morning.
Good morning. We're excited to be here another Tuesday. Hi, Tammy. How are you?
I'm good. So, I'm excited today. We have Renee, and I just want to say hi to everyone here, and of course, Renee. Hi, Renee.
He is a returning
Ladies.
guest. He's kind of family. He's like Michael Pope and those returning guests that come back because we love what they have to share. And I am sure we're going to have another great conversation with Renee as we were already having backstage before
We
the
we were, and we've actually I've gotten actually a lot of our followers have been requesting Renee as well. So
wonderful.
I
Hey,
hope you feel honored, Renee. We feel honored to have you here. And I just want to thank each and every person that is here and be sure to share and like. And we appreciate you. And before we move, I wanted to do a little housekeeping here real quick. I want to share that we appreciate your posts and we appreciate your shares, and especially when they're inspirational stories, photos, quotes. We love that. And then on Mondays, we have a Monday marketing, and that's for you there to share links of your favorite people or your own goods, whether it's like Sea Pearl candles for the candles, or Olivia for earthing, or Aaron for her, or Carrie, those that have businesses for coaching, products, please share on our Monday marketings. And that's where, even if it's somebody else's link, share on Mondays.
Marketing
So
Mondays, you're gonna see the post. Every Monday, there's Marketing Mondays, and that is for you right there. You are welcome to share. We love the enthusiasm. We love that you endorse each other or yourself. Of course, that's what that's for. And also, any day, right, Tammy? They can post in the other group, the public group.
yes, you can post in our Unlocking Freedom in Nature anytime. And then also, if you have somebody that you would love to have as a guest on here, direct message us.
Mhm.
We will see it first there. And because sometimes we might have already contacted that person. And the reason we had to do this to limit to one day was because we don't want it to look like a Facebook sales page. So we're trying to keep it this here group as an inspiring group. And so I hope that makes sense. So if you have any questions, please just reach out. So anyway, I'm so excited to have Renee here today. And Renee is coming from Holland. And we want to learn more about Renee's journey. So,
Rene is coming from the world. He's originally from, tell us, remind us, where is it that you're coming from, that in transit to Holland, and where are you going, Rene? And I have to say hello to our dear Sandra, to Ruth, that are here watching. And I know that it's so fascinating that you are a body language expert. Tell us what that's about and how did you start in the journey? And the floor is yours, Rene.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Tammy, Laurie. I mean, I
of
remember the
course.
time in Texas when we met. I met Laurie in Texas. We had I never had such a amazing Mexican taco. And then that conversation as well was amazing. It was last year in May, I guess, in 23. But
Yes.
yeah, it was. I mean, and it's always. I mean, first time I came on your platform, it was like, oh, why? I mean, we will have to meet again. But anyway, where did the journey start? Journey started in Belgium. I was born and raised in Belgium. Two amazing parents. My dad was a police officer. My mom worked at home, and and we had like, yeah, kind of discipline, and we were raised very well. Never had any issues. However, I had a lot of issues in school. People were bullying me, and I was always like running home crying because they destroyed my pencil bag, or they did throw away my lunchbox, or there was always something going on. And then later on, I kept on going until I was 17, and I said, you know what? I'm going to prove myself to the world, because when you get bullied, you get like pulled down. And I said, you know what? I'm going to prove myself to the world that I am a good for something. Because people would tell me you're good for nothing, you're not going to make it in life, forget about it, you're just a loser. And for all the people watching and listening to this, if I can, everybody can. It's not about me. It's about, the principle behind it. And then when I was 17, I said, I'm going to join the Navy. And people said, you're going to join the Navy? This is not for you, my friend. You're not going to make it. You have to study. You have to do this. You have to do that. I say, you know what? Watch me. I'll show you, and F off. I mean, I'm not going to say the word. I want to keep it clean here.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
And then I went to the Navy. I saw people with stars and stripes, and I said, "Hey, if they can, I can." And I went home, and I'm a very extrovert, as you can see. I'm very like extrovert. I want to say it. I want to share it with everybody. I'm going to become an officer. I'm going to become an officer. And say, Renee, this is not for you. You're not going to make it. Can't you be happy where you are? I said, no. So I applied anyway, and before I knew it, I was an engineer in building roads and bridges and all these things. People said, "Wow, you're so lucky." But we all know that there's no luck attached to it, don't we? And then I saw people jumping out of airplanes and flying airplanes, and I said, "Wow, if they can, I can." And before I knew it, I was jumping out of an airplane, I was flying airplanes, and people said, "How do you do that?" I said, you just do it." But people say, "Yeah, but you must be very lucky." I said, "I'm not lucky at all. There's no luck attached to it." And the whole thing changed when in 1995 I started my own business in personal development, and it changed for the negative. I mean, it didn't take off right away. I had debts from here to Tokyo, and but then little by little you start building. You have that exposure, and people start believing in you. And then when I started working with Tony Robbins, with Anthony Robbins in 2010 or 11, I can't remember it very well. We started collaborating, and from that moment on, I started flying. But when you do that, you have to know what you're talking about. And in the very beginning of my coaching career, which is now 3 decades ago, it's almost 3 decades ago. In the beginning of that career, somebody said to me, Renee, how is the business going? I said, the business is not going very well. Hi, Eva. I know Eva. Eva is from London.
Wonderful. Welcome, Eva.
Yeah. So it didn't take off right away because I had let's say a supermarket with all kinds of products. And but I didn't have any clients. I had a supermarket with an NLP, with body language, with name it, I probably had it. And somebody said, Renee, you have to have a niche. I said, yeah, sure. And I went home, and that's where I started. I went home thinking, what's a niche? I didn't know it.
You don't know.
I learned it from scratch. But then little by little, you start building it. And one day I was approached by somebody who said, hey, Renee, we're going to a body language presentation for free. Are you joining? I said, what? Body language? That's for hippies. This is not for me. And they said, come on, man, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be this thing. But I didn't have any, experience with body language. I knew when I was a kid, I was watching people and I was wondering why people do the things they do, but they say differently. I couldn't match these things for a long time. But then they convinced me. I went anyway, and it was the best thing ever. I mean, today I've been doing it for so long now. Is teaching body languages in business is like for 80-90% of my work. But it's been an amazing journey. So where do I come from? What I do? I don't know if that answers the question, Laurie. A little bit.
It does. It definitely does. I have we've talked about this story. I've heard your story, and it's fascinating. It just engages me all the time. What I like about it, Renee, is the motivation for you to prove. I think you're saying to people, right, who you were, but do you think that comes from a place to prove yourself because you were done and tired and fed up with all that? I don't know if to call it abuse or bullying or whatever it's called, which is not fun. But do you think, and what can you tell the audience when they're feeling let down by their people around them on what is the true motivation that needs to happen?
So I'm going to put this thing over there. Somebody's calling me. Anyway, I was bullied like crazy, and I wanted to prove myself to the world. And what happens is that you have these levels of consciousness. So when you look at a pyramid, the lowest level of consciousness is the survival mode, where a lot of people are. And the only thing they look for is danger. And that is normal. There's nothing like, it's completely normal. Why? Because the oldest brain we have in our brain, the oldest part of the brain, is the survival brain. It's called the lizard brain, is it called, whatever you want to call it. But it's the oldest brain. Is we look for survival, we look for danger. And that's what a lot of people do. And I was looking for danger myself. Whenever danger would come towards me, I would defend myself. And actually, the moment I started stopping defending myself, that's when a whole new world would open up. But I had to learn it myself. So I was like proving myself to the world. I had to prove myself. I had to prove myself constantly. Why? Because I was bullied and people kept on bullying me. And in 1995, when I started my business, that was the reason I started my business was a little book from Tony Robbins, Notes from a Friend. It's a very tiny book. You can read it in less than 2 hours. That book changed my life. I said, you know what? I'm not going to prove myself anymore to anybody. I don't care. And that's when also the audience changed. A lot of things changed. And again, if I can do it, anybody can do it. But you have to have these nuggets like, hey, listen, no matter what people think about you, it is none of your business. It doesn't matter. And people say, really? I said, no. What people think about you is none of your business. Make sure you have a goal. Make sure you have a plan. Know what you do, why you do it, and then create a plan, and then just work it. And whatever people think about you, they will think about you anyway. Would you agree?
I agree. We are so self-conscious, and I'm like, because we're so self-absorbed, it's like we don't pay attention too much. And then that bullying it's just an indicator of the person's character and what they're going through. So anyways, I just love that. And you skipped to when you started working for Tony Robbins, and it's so good that you share the fact that you read that book. But I'm not sure if that's something that's public knowledge or you shared with me at some point, but how you started working with him.
Oh yeah, that's public. Yeah,
Oh, okay. But it's perfect. I honor that. And what it suffice to say that it was just the stars aligned kind of thing. And I believe in the divine. I believe in God. I think it was just so wonderful, Renee, that the opportunity showed up, but also you said yes to the opportunity and you persevered, and that is so wonderful to know as a friend, and as the conversations we've had is just so great. And then what can you say about where you were and where you're at, and what's the bridge that connects that for our audience to learn, what is it that it takes? It takes work, grit, determination, a decision.
It takes a leap of faith. That's all. Nothing more than that. To start with, I was asked by people, "Hey, are you joining us? We are going to Tony Robbins." I said, "No, thank you." And I said, "What? You're not joining us?" I said, "No. I mean, money, time, organization, my work, this and that." And said, "Hey, come on, man, join us. It's going to be amazing." I said, "No, I can't. I can't. I'm sorry, I can't." I said, "A ticket is about $1,000, and then I'm going to speak in dollars because I mean,
Thank you.
about $1,000, and then you have to look for accommodation, which is $100 a day times 5 days, which is 500, which is 1,500, and then you have to eat, you have to do this, you have to do that. I mean, I'm gonna like pay at least $3,000 to $4,000 going to Tony Robbins." And they say, "Yeah, so what?" I say, "So what? What? I mean, I don't have it. I'm sorry, I don't have the money, I don't have the time." And along the way, I started like thinking, like, but what if? What if I go? What if I would go? What would happen afterwards? What if? And I started, like, you know what? Take that leap of faith. I did anything I could to get the money, and I got the money, and I went anyway. Best decision ever. Because afterwards we have to, and it has nothing to do with Tony Robbins or me. It's the principle behind it.
Yeah.
It's taking that leap of faith, whatever you do in life. If it's opening up a new restaurant, if it's starting a new business, if it's going to apply for a job somewhere, I don't know. But take that leap of faith. You never know what could happen, what could come from that. Because what came from that is that I went to that Tony Robbins event. I had an amazing time. In the beginning, I was like, what the heck is wrong with all these people? They're dancing, they're singing, they're jumping on their chairs. And I said, what? But half an hour later, I was jumping as well and singing. But anyway, so I did that. And then what happened afterwards, I went back to Belgium, and they had the Yes Group in Belgium. And the Yes Group in Belgium is a peer group from Tony Robbins. And they said, we organize meetings every month to keep that momentum high. Because if you go to a big event with so much energy, after 3 months, the energy is gone.
Right.
So we have to keep that momentum. So I went there, and there was a guy, and he says, so he did the presentation, was a guy from Portugal, Ricardo Mendoza, an amazing dude, as one of my best friends today. And he said he did the presentation, and afterwards he came to me in the lobby of the hotel. He says, can I ask you something? I said, yeah. Did you learn something? I said, well, little bits and pieces. I mean, we're in the same industry. He said, oh, wow. Can I ask you a personal question? Can I share that story about the, okay. And I said, what's the personal question? He says, well, how many years have you been smoking? I said, excuse me? Because I used to be a smoker, right? And that day I didn't smoke because I thought, like, in my mind, it was like, if people smell I'm a smoker, my credit will go down. That's the attitude I had in those days.
Mhm.
And I said, what are you talking about? He says, yeah, I can tell you're a smoker, right? Aren't you? I said, well, yeah. And he asked me, how long have you been trying to quit? I said, what? Because he was right. I tried to quit for 6 months. I said, the universe probably has a different part for me, and I'll be a smoker for the rest of my days. And I'm okay with that. He says that's the biggest BS I ever heard in my entire life. He says, your story you shared about, the armed forces and all of that, is that true? Can you prove that? I said, absolutely. He says, I have something special for you. It's not for everybody on the planet, but I think you might be a perfect fit for this job. I said, what's the job all about? He says, I can't tell you. I said, excuse me? He says, no, it's for non-smokers only.
Mhm.
I went home that night smoking like a chimney because I knew he had something very special. And it took me 3 months to take that decision. And I took the decision. I called him and said, hey, Ricardo, this is Rene from Belgium. He says, oh my God, brother, how you doing? I said, stop the brother thing, man. I just want to let you know I quit smoking. And he says, wow, but I don't believe you because you're going to put the phone down and I'll put another cigarette in your mouth. I said, just a minute. So when I take a decision, there's no way back.
Yeah.
He says, I'll believe you. I'll send you an email and look at it and get back to me. I said, okay. And before I could ask him, what do you have? He put the phone down. And I called him back, called him back, called him back. He didn't answer the phone anymore. I said, man. So it took him 14 days to send me that email. I was nervous, as you can imagine. Got the email, subject, application, personal bodyguard, Tony Robbins. I said, what?
Wow.
I was on fire. Started, filling in all the paperwork. It was a lot of paperwork to do, but anyway. And before I knew it, I was on the scene with Tony for 2 years. And after 2 years, I said, thank you so much. And he said, no, thank you for your service. He's an amazing dude, by the way. He's an amazing guy. And I left, and then I was contacted by Success Resources, and we started following each other. And before I knew it, I was representing Tony Robbins in doing preview sessions all over the planet, from Melbourne to LA, from LA to Brussels. I mean, all over the planet. And that was an amazing experience. And I did it until last year in Birmingham, in the UK, Birmingham. And yeah, so.
That's the story I wanted you to share, and you did. Thank you.
And you know what? People said, how do you do that? I said, I don't know. You just do it.
Yes.
And you have to take that to come back, to get back to the beginning of the story. You have to take that leap of faith. It's
Yes.
that leap of faith, and you have to jump. If you never jump, nothing happens.
Yeah.
I've got
Wow.
people playing safe, secure systems, and that's okay. If you're okay with that, keep doing it. But if you want to change in life, you have to jump. And if you don't jump, you're gonna, yeah.
I love that leap of faith, Renee, but to your credit, it also, you said yes to the opportunity and you underwent the changes that you needed to make. You
Yeah.
wanted the bigger prize and you went through the changes. What I'm not even sure how it is to go through withdrawals and the sacrifice, I'm sure the decision you made to make the changes. And yes, taking that leap of faith is super important. At the same time, when that opportunity showed up, and this is what we're about, Tammy and I, and you are, Renee, part of a coaching field and transformation and seeing somebody getting from point A to point B, whether that's on their own, with their own determination, or with the help and guidance with someone that sees their potential and says, you can do this as long as you really want to change. That is very important, and you did it. And that's the part of the story that I really like the most, that you
Mm,
took that leap of faith, saw the window of opportunities, and you did what you must. It was a must, basically, because this is like, hey, this is what's required for this position. This is what's
yeah.
required for this opportunity. And you're like, oh, wow, I need to make a choice. And you made that choice for the better. That's the part
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah, you're very, very courageous. And I have two things here because I love it. I have two questions, I should say, or maybe one statement, one question here. So it reminds me of clients that are afraid to paint the wall. Just change colors in a wall on a wall. And whenever I've taught art lessons or whatever, it's amazing how people are afraid to go from white to a color, to beige even. Like, what if something goes wrong? They're always afraid. They're afraid to take that step. But I always tell them, it's like, if you don't like it, you can always go back.
Yeah.
Right. But if you don't change it or try something, you're never going to know if you could achieve it. So, what would you tell our guest about the courage? Because sometimes we put it out there, we're going to do it, but it's not always as easy, or we don't
Yes.
realize what we're doing as much as our courage that we have while we're going through it until we look back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes total sense. The question is, so I ask people, what is it that you want? And then people say, I don't know. And I said, I know you don't know, but suppose you would know. This is pure NLP, neuro linguistic programming. So when you say suppose you would know, you activate the brain and people start thinking, right?
Yes.
So when you say people, what do you want? I don't know. Suppose you would know, what would it be? I really not know. I know you really don't know, but hey, suppose you would know, think deep. What would it be? And then, the question would be for me, what do you got to lose? What do you have to lose? If you have a wall and it's brown and you want to paint it white, but you don't know if it's going to fit in you, just do it. What do you got to lose?
Yeah.
A couple of buckets of paint, that's all, right? So you just freaking do it. And I always ask myself also, is that what's the return on investment? Right? What is the return on investment? What I got to lose? What can I win?
Yeah.
3 amazing questions. If I have a return on investment that if I painted it in this kind of color because I saw it in a different home and I loved it a lot, maybe my energy would change because my color now is in a different color in my room, in my living room, in my kitchen, right? And Eva, you know it, right? You've just been painting, right? I know you have been painting, so but when you change a color in your living room, in your kitchen, it doesn't matter where it is, you might change the energy. When you change your energy, you will change your feeling. And do know one thing, body language is based on how you feel. And if you have a positive feeling, you will express that positive body language. That positive body language will send out signals on a certain frequency with a certain vibration, and you will attract different signals as well, or different people or different situations because you feel much better. So it takes, how should I say, it's just, I would say, what could you lose and what could you win? But not doing anything is nothing going to change. So if you like, I don't know, I want to stay where I am, you know what? Stay where you are. But don't expect anything to change. Because if you want change in life, you have to take action. It's the same like when I was with Tony so many times, I remember it like yesterday. He's always said, change your question, will change your answer. If you change your questions, you will change your answer. And a change of an answer is a change of action. And that change of action might give you a complete different feeling and feel much better. And that's where a lot of people get stuck.
I have some comments here from our audience watching live. One is asking about your social media platforms. So Rene, you need to come back in here to the group and type it in. We can do that also. Suzanne is asking that. And also Sandra is saying, I love a decisive man, no lukewarm men. So somebody's praising you for your decisiveness. And she's
Thank you so much.
and she's also saying, as a woman, we're constantly looking and feeling out how our decisions will affect others. How do we just jump for ourselves and not contemplate others around us? Very great question. Thank you, Sandra, for submitting that question.
That's indeed a very good question, a great question, and a question you have to analyze in the first place. If you are a single woman or a woman with a man, or you have a family, you have to adjust to that. I'm on my own. I can travel as much as I want. I don't really have any responsibilities. So for me, it's easy to say, I take a plane and I fly from A to B. But when you have a family and you have kids and you have a husband or a wife, it's not that easy. So I do understand that it's different for everybody. But what you have to do in the first place, and that's what I advise everybody, is to communicate with your partner, but communicate in the first place with yourself. And what is it? When I communicate with myself, what's positive in it? What will come out of it for me positive? What's the ROI? And can I influence people with this in a positive way? Yes or no? And then the second part is do I have to think about somebody or something? Do I have to think about my family? Do I have to think about my husband or my wife? Do I have to think about my kids? You have to consider all of these things. So it's a different situation for everybody on this planet. Because for me, yeah, just travel, take the plane, do this, do that. But that doesn't work. You have to, each situation is different. But not doing anything is, first of all, also a decision, but nothing is going to change. But the first place, and I think in the first place, in all situations, professional, personal, in a relationship, not in a relationship, it doesn't matter where you are, who you are, what you do, communication is the first thing to do. And in the first place, with who? With yourself.
I love that, Rene.
Yeah.
Of course.
I think people forget it, that you have to communicate with yourself. And then people also forget a lot of times that our decisions not only affect us, but they affect everybody else around us. And they can affect people that we don't even know.
For good or for bad, right?
Yes.
Because our legacy that we're going to leave behind is going to make a mark, right? It's going to leave a footprint. And what is that footprint going to be? I love that. And I'm taking notes for the comments. So communication with self, and consider your circumstances, your personal situation. And then what, Rene?
And then adapt to it. Like I was listening to Jim Rohn the other day, and what he said at a certain moment was like, I used to say, I'll have your back, you have my back. And he said, I changed it. I'll have my back so I can take care of you. Why don't you have your back? You can take care of me.
Wow.
It's a completely different way of saying it, but it makes so much more sense. If you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of somebody else?
So adapt to the answer you received when you tapped into communicating with yourself, like to be authentic to yourself and live up to what is it that you want. Like adapt
all the time. Yeah, I have a session now with Dr. Stephanie Audrey, and the title is each week be authentic as AF. I mean, I'm not gonna say it here out loud, but be authentic as possible. Let's put it like this, because if you're authentic, afterwards you don't have to regret anything. And even being authentic is offensive to your partner. Your partner should be at that level of consciousness and say, hey, listen, I don't agree with you. And then you should be at that level of consciousness. Okay, I accept that. Why don't you agree with me? Can you share some information about this? And that is what I call communication on a higher level. You have to communicate with each other. Even if you don't agree, you have to say you don't agree. And then the other part of the partnership, if it's a man or wife or whatever, you should say, okay, get you, I got you, but why? Tell me why. Give me information. And that is so important. And that's what's not happening today a lot anymore, and especially in relationships. We want to be right. Even if you say this and this and this, and I know it makes sense, no, I'm right. But it doesn't work like that. If you want to build something solid, it doesn't work like that. You have to change that. And that's why I always hammer on ask questions as much as you can. Do your open questions, the why, what, where, when, who, which, and how, and then communicate and say, hey, I know, I hear you. Tell me why. And that's when you start building a relationship professionally or personal. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. Well, when we start and when we assume that the other person understands us or is getting what we're thinking, that's when we make the mistake, because sometimes depending on what they've gone through, they are coming from a totally different perspective than we are, you know. So, and it's funny is because like Lori and I, when we even met, you know, and we're talking, I mean, we've been on community, doesn't mean we agree 100% of the time, but most of the time we do. And we sit there and we try to work it out until we do get each other's perspective on stuff,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
You're the second resource, Renee. I agree with you, Tammy, and it's been so amazing how our process, right, as a joint venture and business partners and friends. And you're the second resource in like less than 24 hours that points out the importance of asking the why, where we get annoyed at little toddlers or little kids growing up asking why about everything because they're so inquisitive, because they are like sponges that want to learn and are so thirsty to learn. And we shut them down because it can be draining and exhausting. It is so important to understand. And I love Dean Graziosi also has this the seven level going deep, 7 levels on your why. Why is it that you have this intention, your purpose in life? Why is it that you want to do and heed the calling, right? Even though everybody's telling you you're crazy, you should not do that. It is so important to understand the why. Let me see. Christopher is also saying exactly self-empathy is so important. You can't give to others what you don't have for yourself. Exactly. And especially also, Christopher, I think like you need to give others what you're like suppressing and you haven't said yes to yet, listening to everybody else, right? And that because that comes out of self-empathy, self-compassion. I agree. So thank you so much for sharing those steps. I wrote them in the comment, add or correct me if I didn't take good notes, but this is
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead,
I was
Tammy.
going to say, when you were talking about this, it reminded me of one of our coaches. They had us, you know, and I had never really thought about it because this, like you said, the self-talk was list all your values. And, you know, you think you have all your values in your mind, you know, it's like integrity and these different things. And then when they said, no, we want you to list 20 different values. And you're like, what would you, you know, so that your partners or who you work with will share the same values, you know? So then when you start having to think about it and talk more about it, like you said, the picture becomes so much more clear when you ask yourself those important questions. So thank you for that good reminder.
Yeah, it's all about communication. The whole, you know, the time you are on this planet is so short, right? And the older you get, the more you start realizing it is super short. Funny enough. But you don't have any time to waste. Even if you're in your 20s or your 30s, you don't have any time to waste. If you want a high quality life, go for a high quality life. Whatever that high quality life means to you, it is different for everybody. But communicate about it with your partner. And if your partner says, yeah, but I say, okay, listen, I don't think we're going to match, right? You have a great day. This is it, done. And then you don't waste your time on a relationship. This is the same with work. If you don't like the work you do, change jobs or start your own business or whatever you want. I'm not saying that you should quit your job tomorrow, but make sure you do something that really makes sense to you and that makes you feel good. Because at the end, you know, I was Les Brown, right? I know for people who don't know Les Brown, Google Les Brown. Les Brown said one day,
Tammy knows.
I do. I know Les. He's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I mean, I've met him, and he said, "Can you imagine, Renee? You're sitting on in your rocking chair. You're 85 years old, and you look back on your life. Will you have a big smile on your face, or will you have tons of regrets?" And I said, "Wow, that's a good one." And until today, I will have no regrets at all. I'll have a big fat smile on my face. I don't know what's the future going to bring for me. I mean, nobody knows, but it is a fact that if you don't take a leap of faith, if you don't communicate with yourself first, if you don't take action in life, you'll be stuck somewhere and you'll be complaining. But the moment you have that mind shift and you say, hey, listen, I'm going to take a decision. I'm going to take that leap of faith. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And do you know what's going to happen? A lot of your friends and your family are going to say, oh, if I would be you, I wouldn't do that. You know, and you say, yeah, I know, sure. And you know, you do it anyway. You know, and you go, I mean, Grant Cardone, I was with Grant Cardone in Birmingham, UK as well, backstage, and he says, Your friends have nothing. Your family have nothing. Love them. They're very dear,
Yeah.
but they're not going to bring anything to the table, right? Work with strangers. If you have a good business, contact a stranger. A stranger doesn't know you. You're like, okay, Let me give you an example. I went to Belgium organizing a seminar for a certain price, and it was for my friends and my old client, and a lot of them kept, Rene, is there still some promotional price on this? Can we have some, like, I said, no. And they said, oh, yeah, but then I can't. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna make it. I said, okay, no worries. Then on the other hand, when you go to a complete strange organization and you say, hey, listen, I have a seminar, it's about this and this and that, that's the time schedule, this is, and this is the price. You know what I'm gonna say? Oh, wow, amazing. Let me have a look at it. I'll get back to you. And then they get back to you and said, okay, Rene, we'll agree on it. We'll sign the paperwork. We'll pay you up front as you asked. And love your friends and family as much as you can. They're very dear.
Yeah.
But don't expect big things from it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
I do with my
We
art.
agree.
maybe you
It's
have
like,
experiences like that.
I
oh
have
yeah,
a lot of experience.
we're not the prophet in our own land is kind of like a little saying that I have. Like they know you, they know your flaws, they know where you come from, your weaknesses, and they're not going to honor your progress and your change that you've evolved into. And they have the best in no, they have good intentions, but they don't have the best interest when it comes to things that they're not experts on. So that's
Yeah.
why I totally get what you're saying, Rene, and the power of proximity with people that already have the results you want to accomplish is very important. And let me know if that makes sense or if that ties in with what you were saying.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
I was, and at that same time with Grant Cardone, I was with somebody from the organization. I said, listen, I would love to talk to Michael Lane, which is at that in those days he was responsible for the organization for Tony Robbins in Australia. And I said, I would love to talk to Michael Lane. And the person says to me, turn around. I said, what? Turn around? Michael Lane was standing behind me, and I didn't know it. And I turned around and he says, hey, Rene,
Wow.
yeah, let's grab a cup of coffee. We didn't know each other at all.
Yeah.
But then we exchanged information, we exchanged ideas, and before I knew it, I was on a plane to Melbourne. You know what I mean? It's there's always an exemption to the rule. There's always friends that are different. Let
Right.
Yes.
me
That are
emphasize that.
encouraging, that are supportive.
But
Mhm.
99% you're not going to do business with.
Yeah.
There's a
No.
1% of friends that are really friends. And
Mhm.
that is an exemption to the rule. I don't want to say that it's 100%. No, that's not true. But in generally spoken, friends and family, love them, hold them close to your heart, and do whatever you can for them. But becoming a client it's hard. It's not going to happen. I mean,
Yeah. And I'll say that from experience as being an artist. I don't think I've had one family member buy a piece of my art.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yet and before, well, it's been like 10, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, they wouldn't even acknowledge I was an artist, because I mean, yeah, all my stuff with training was in fashion and style and that stuff until I was in galleries and also when they saw that I was doing $100,000 pieces of art, then it was like, oh, you're an artist. Oh, when did you paint this? And it had been there for 10 years.
yeah.
But it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
amazing how they don't see you. They see you as still as that child or that kid or whoever, or just the sister or whatever, but they don't see you as who you became or who you changed. And sometimes we have to watch that and make sure we don't see others that same way,
Exactly.
see how much they have changed and grown.
There's this
Yeah.
unconscious bias that comes with it, right? Like I say, they see you grew up together and things like that, and they don't understand the evolution and the changes you're going through. Rene, speaking of changes, I really would like Sandra, if you're still here. I talked to Sandra before we came live, and I said, Rene, he's a body language expert, and we put these labels on ourselves, and we specialize in some areas and fields and industries and skills. But then I know and I see that you're so multifaceted. You're doing many things, and I really would like to hear a little bit about your body language expertise and then also where you're headed also with
Well,
a
and
new
his retreat
project. I mean, yeah,
project.
the new project that we're
Oh
super
my
excited
God.
about.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that one, but yeah.
Hey, you
So
can talk on what you want and not on the other. So
yeah, no worries, no worries, no worries. So what happens is that more and more people start realizing that body language, or let's say nonverbal communication in general, because body language is one part of nonverbal. Nonverbal is in fact body language plus tonality. And I always ask people when you're in a conversation with somebody, how many of you pay attention to your body language? And 99% says, well, body language, I don't know. Okay. How many of you pay attention to your tonality when you speak to somebody? Yeah, I don't know. Of course you don't, because you don't pay attention to it because it's a subconscious thing. You know, the nonverbal communication is something subconsciously. The verbal communication is conscious. We know what we're talking about. Like we are now communicating with each other. We know the exact words we're going to use. We know exactly what we're going to say. But nonverbal is, I don't know if you paid attention to my hands right now, which is nonverbal, which is body language. Do you pay attention to my tonality? You're like, go up and down, loud, quiet. This is tonality. So if you know, I don't know, what was the question again? I lost it.
Tell us about your body language
Oh yeah,
expertise.
the story, the journey. So what happens is that it becomes more and more important in businesses, especially that people pay more and more and more attention to body language. Next week, I'll be in the Middle East in a petrochemical industry company. They hired me for 3 sessions, a 3-day, a 1-day, and a 3-day, because they know today more than ever, nonverbal communication is becoming so important in negotiations. You can say whatever you want to say, but if you can add that typical tonality and body language, I guarantee you signing a contract will go so much easier for whatever party, right? And that's the first thing. So, and then I had a couple of guys calling me for public speaking. Can you coach me to become a public speaker? I said, of course. Let's get on a call first and see what your needs are, if I can fill in your needs or not. So, but the last part now, I've been studying for 8 years, is I've been doing research in building something. And I'm going to reveal it later, but that building something is is based on the fact that, I have a better, I mean, and if I can do it, anybody can do it, because my basic education, I went to hotel school. I'm a certified chef, sommelier, and maître d'hôtel. So if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm, in the hospitality industry. I didn't do it for many, many years, but hey, I do still know how it works. And then the second part is that I was born and raised with homeopathics and herbs and oils, so we never touched one piece of medication our entire life. The third part is, as being an engineer in the forces, I know pretty well how you build something. And then my vision on life is that when you go back to nature, you go back to the source, you can live a completely different life if you want to.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Sandra is
oh
also
yeah,
asking
I'm
about,
excited about your adventure.
it's
I'll,
yes.
I'll, I'll continue later. First of all, Laurie, tell me, what do you want to?
Yeah, she's asking about the body language and the vibes of people. Like how can you detect certain things? And he's been in our show before, and if you find that interview, he shared a lot of great tips. But if you, for the first time viewers, maybe you can share some basics. And I'm sorry if I interrupted your
No, it's
story.
okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. The first thing I always ask people is to follow your gut feeling. And why is that? People ask me sometimes, do you read body language all the time? No, because I would go crazy. Um, Whenever I start feeling in my gut, like there's a gut feeling that says, this conversation, there's something, I don't know, something missing, something is not correct, something is like, that's when I start reading body language. And I start reading body language in a sense that I also listen. And I listen not only with my ears, I listen with my eyes as well.
Yeah.
Did you hear what I say? I listen with my eyes. What I mean
Absolutely.
about that is that I will analyze people and look at their gestures, at where they look at. For example, if they look left up or right up or whatever, if they, look me in the eyes, yes or no, if they are saying something and they're getting nervous or scratching themselves, There's all kinds of ways of detecting body language. And to give you a little, like a little bit of information is that we have a right brain. This is right. I don't know if that's right for you as well, but this is left. So let's put it, I won't go do this. This is left, right? The L of left, and this is right. So the right brain is connected to the left eye, and the left brain is connected to the right eye. How does that work? The left brain is a rational brain connected to the right eye. So your right eye is your rational eye. Your right brain is connected to your left eye, which is your emotional eye. Emotional brain, emotional eye is diagonally. So when I speak to somebody and they tell me a story that they should remember from the past and they look up right, they are making a construction of something. For me, that's a red flag.
They're fibbing.
They lie, it's a red flag.
Yeah, they're fibbing. They're coming up with something. If they look left, is like the memories, correct?
Left is memory, right is a construction. And why is right a construction? Because it's connected to the rational, a rational construction. Left is emotional memory, right? So this is the first way to detect some. And when you ask a question and you ask another question and another question, when you have too many of these red flags, that person might be lying to you.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I ask a final question. Can you please stop lying to me? Depends on who I'm talking to, by the way. And I had that one time in London, and the lady started crying like crazy. I said, "Why are you lying to me?" She says, "How do you know?" I said, "Who's the coaching here? Who's reading body language?" She says, okay. So she started crying even more. I said, "Stop crying and be honest with me. Otherwise, we'll stop here because it's a waste of your time, my time, and especially your money." And this is how you can detect things, is that where do people look when they speak to you, right?
Is there a time when you're off? Like, is there a time when the knowing all this information is off? Meaning maybe there's some like you were talking earlier about exceptions to the rule, like family and friends, etc. Are there exceptions, and is it hard to navigate because you don't know the person well, or these key points are clue and very, very proven that there's no way to go wrong? I don't know if
No,
that.
just by asking questions and your gut feeling, and then all of a sudden you stop asking questions and just continue the conversation because you can't keep asking questions. But sometimes your gut feeling as well says, "Hey, listen, that person is amazing. I mean, I love that dude or I love that girl," and you just continue. And what comes afterwards is based again on asking questions. I mean, I always ask a lot of questions. And sometimes people say, "Wow, you ask a lot of questions." I say, "Yeah, I want to know more about you. I'm interested, and would you be okay if I ask more questions?" And oh yeah, well, okay. The reason when you ask questions, the
I
reason
love
is
it.
because they get significance. When you ask a question at someone and they can do the story because you ask an open question, what, why, where, when, who, which, and how. When you ask an open question, people come up with a story. They can't answer the question by a yes or a no.
Right.
And they feel significance because they can speak. How many times you spoke to somebody and you're looking for that button to stop them speaking?
Or mute, the mute button.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a question. How about for those that they've made up this story and they constantly lie about this story? Do they have the same reactions? Because
I get your point.
big
The
people
more
that
they
they
say
tell
it,
the
the more
story,
they
and then pretty
believe it.
soon they're believing their own lies.
These what we call pathological liars.
Yes.
What happens is that you got three people that are pretty hard to read body language, and you got professional actors. They know how to act. So reading their body language is not easy because they might act right in front of your face, right?
Wow.
Professional actors. The second type of people is people who are using drugs, alcohol, tobacco, whatever, and they change the state of their body with the products. That means that it's very hard to read their body language, if they're honest or not, if they're telling the truth, if they are very genuine or not, because they change the state of their body. If you speak to somebody who drank alcohol and who was drunk, you have a completely different situation with that same person when they're sober, right? And then the third type of people is pathological liars, the narcissistic people, people who believe in their own stuff. And whatever they say, they will believe it in it so hard, and their body language will adapt to it. So it's not easy to read those people's body language at all, because they get so used to it, it becomes a second skin, and becomes a habit, it becomes them, right? And then to read that type of body language, it's not easy. But when you ask again, I'll always refer to the same thing again and again and again. Ask questions as much as you can.
And the audience is saying intuition, like you're saying, and somebody said your gut equals your second brain. And then there's a couple more comments saying intuition and discernment helps with discernment. So wow, because I agree with Tammy. I still have the question. Even you're saying it's hard. It's hard to detect.
And the reason I asked that is because, I mean, usually I'm pretty good, like you said, the gut intuition, or you watch the eyes. They're fidgeting, or you ask so many questions, you catch them in their lies. But I've actually known a few people that are like so psychos, you know, psychological liars, that they believe. And at first I didn't catch it, and they come off as so nice, you know, to like, oh, we're all for you. And then pretty soon, the more you know them, the more you realize that it's all lies and stuff. And you find out they're stabbing you, you know, behind your back and different things. And, but it's like, oh my gosh, how did, you know, so then I'm asking myself, how did I miss that? You know? And, but then I find my daughters are like, but mom, you were just being too nice. You were trying to always find the good in people, which I try to do. I try to find the good in people, but every once in a while, you know, we slip up and, you know, so
well, especially in relationships. In relationships, it's I shall say, it's very hard to ask the hard questions in the beginning, because you're in love and you're blind and you don't see.
This was an aunt, you know, is that I hadn't seen for 35 years, and now I know why the rest of the family didn't want to ever spend time with her, you know.
Yeah. But once you start asking the hard questions, then the real person comes to the surface.
Yeah, so it's much better to ask those hard questions up front, is what I've learned, you know. Absolutely. And it's like when I was doing marriage mentoring or working with youth, I always ask those hard questions, those red flag, you know, just so you get those red flag warnings and stuff. But yeah, I think I was just being too nice at that time.
Yeah.
That makes two of us. That makes two of us, Tammy.
That's the same in business. Well, for example, somebody's calling me, hey, Rene, we would like to have you as a speaker on board, and your topic is amazing, and we've been following you for a while, and we love what you do, and blah 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 blah, and we would love to have you, for example, in Dallas. And when would you be free? Could you share your agenda? Blah 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 blah. Okay, I said I got 3 questions, and I said, okay, what is the first question? I said, my first question is, how many people will there be in the room? Oh, about 200. That's amazing. And what's the level of the people in the room? Are they university? Are there entrepreneurs? Are they students? Who is in the room? I want to know my audience. Oh, they're all business owners. I said, that's amazing. 200 business owners all together. I mean, like for me, that's like, whoa, like a kid in the candy store, right? And then I said, listen, last question, and a very important question, by the way, what's your budget? And that is a question a lot of people don't like to ask, because they're scared. But if they say, yeah, well, what is your price? I said, no. Is there a budget? I mean, I will reveal my price in the end anyway, but is there a certain budget you had in mind? Could you please share it with me, please? And sometimes people say, well, there's no budget. I said, well, then there's no Rene. Call me back when there's a budget.
Wow.
I love that. And I'm going to speak to the other artists out there. I did the same thing just a week ago because I get asked all the time to be a speaker or to be an artist at different places, or artists in galleries. And so I went over and met, because it's like you said, I've learned from my mistakes, you know, where I spent $3,000 to go to a show that was supposed to be, you know, all these other, you had to go through this whole process to get picked and selected, like you're special. And then you go down to this area that you're thinking is so nice, and you spend $4,000, and then you set up next to dog bowls. But this one artist friend mentioned for like getting in galleries, go to the gallery without them even knowing you're going there.
Mm.
And see how they treat you as a customer. Because if they don't give you the time of day when you walk in that door, why would they even sell your art? Because they're not even communicating with people in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a huge tip, because like you said, there's so many times people reach out and as entrepreneurs or business people, you're like, oh, wow, this person's paid attention. But like you said, if we don't ask those questions, then we're going to be the ones getting scammed,
I mean,
good intentions, but
I will challenge you. You go to the bakery tomorrow and you go to buy bread. And when they say, well, that's I don't know how much a bread costs in the US. Let's say it's $3. And you go like, well, I'll take it for free today.
yeah.
What's going to happen?
No, that's not. They're gonna chase you
Yeah.
into the parking lot.
Exactly. So why would you work for free if you have a service that makes sense?
Yeah.
Exactly. I totally agree.
I love it. People are commenting saying, OMG, Renee, I like your attitude, and business is business. And this goes into other kind of trainings about if you have problems with setting boundaries and limits in your life, then talk to Renee then, or one of us, because you said, simple example with the bread, unless they're giving them away for free as a sample to reel you in, that's a different story. But then, oh, she's saying, hello, everybody. That's when you have to decide where to put your energy. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. We don't want to feel scammed, like Tammy said and Renee said. And also, then there's usually this sentiment, this feelings of resentment, like, because you didn't ask the proper questions, because you didn't exchange a verbal agreement, or even a written agreement on, hey, these are my terms and conditions. This is how I work. When you make it clear to the person, then that person, when they come back to ask you, Renee, you're gonna, now we have a budget. So
Exactly.
we really want you now.
When people ask me, so what do you charge people? I said, well, you know what? Go to my website, go to the booking page, and have a look what I charge normally. There's 6 organizations who are booking me, and the prices are out there. So have a check. But can't you tell it right now? No. I say I want you to check it out, and then get back to me if you think I'm like a good value for your organization or your company or whatever. And that's how it works in this life. I mean, I know Gary V. I'm not a Gary V. I'm not a Tony Robbins, but a Gary V charges 100,000 an hour
Wow.
in 2018.
And
you
know your value. You know your value, and we need to know our value.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way with Renee. I always just tell people, go to my website and have a look, because I don't do anything for free. And another red flag warning for people, if they're asking for a discount before they even ask your price, probably not your client.
Exactly.
And
because
like you said,
you've been working for decades to achieve where you are today. Why would you share it with somebody who doesn't want to pay the price?
Yes.
You're an expert in something, and if you're an expert in something and they want to know your expertise, why would you share it if they don't want to pay for it? This is business. This is not a social club. I mean, so yeah.
And and when you're checking out other people and stuff, go to their past. What have they been doing these last few years? Because sometimes they'll say something, but they actually don't do it.
Yeah, I ended up working with Tony, but if you know how many times I slept in my car, I slept in places you don't want to know, just to make sure I made the journey. It was a time I had to choose about, would I put money in my car, gas, or will I pay for a hotel? And most of the time I would put gas in my car and sleep in my car because I didn't have any money for the hotel. I'm talking about a lot of years ago. But that is the price you pay to go where you want to go. And if you don't want to pay that price, that's okay too. But then don't complain why it's not working for you, right? I mean, I watched a lot to Steve Harvey, not now. I watch a lot of Steve Harvey stuff, and sorry for the interruption. A lot, and he says the same thing. He paid a price. He slept in his car for 3 freaking years.
Wow.
Everybody's looking at Steve Harvey. Oh my God, he's so lucky. No, he did pay the price, right? It's the same way, to continue the story about the resort. I've been studying 8 years about how can I create a resort that is self-sustainable. We don't need anybody, any company, any resource. We're going to do it all ourselves, in the sense that for water, we're going to pull water out of the ocean. We're going to desalinate it. We're going to purify it, and it's going to be drinkable anyway. We're going to have electricity from panels, solar panels. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And the whole thing is to continue my journey, Laurie, which you asked earlier. From here, I go
Fascinating.
to the Middle East to teach for 2 weeks, and then I come back, and then normally all will be okay. I'll be going back to the Middle East to build a resort in UAE and the Emirates. The first resort, we're going to build it 8 times all over the planet. And it's called Back to Nature Resort. And if you want to check it out, go to backtonatureresort.com. And we're going to build it, and it's all going back to nature. One of the companies I already have a collaboration with is called Naturally from Denmark. And they produce hair salon products without chemicals. Not 1%, not 0.1%. There's no chemicals in it. Because I remember when I was in Dallas, you have hair products, and they call them bio products, and 80% is chemicals. Only 20% is bio. But when you do that, you're allowed to call it a bio product. But we go completely back to nature. That means log home style. We're going to build houses with trees, a wellness center with trees. We're going to have a convention center built with trees. It's all going to be going back to nature. It's about 25 acres plus, 100,000 square meter plus, and it's going to be amazing. I look forward. We're in the last straight line now with the investors, and I'm looking forward to start building the whole thing. And then you guys can come and be my guest.
I've been
Oh, yeah.
fascinated with this project,
I'm
and
excited about it.
I try to get in investors, but I guess they didn't get the vision,
Oh, it's a jungle. It's a jungle.
yeah, it's a
Believe it or
jungle.
not.
But I have a comment here. Miss Susan says that there's so much bad energy going on, and I know your time is precious and time goes by so fast. Can you believe it's been it's an hour since we've been talking,
Yeah.
and it's been
Yeah.
great.
We're just going to have to have Renee back again.
Again, but we honor your time, and if you because you already revealed this new project and tying it in with Suzanne's question, like there's so much bad energy, but look at you. You said it's 6 o'clock where you are in the world. You said I'm pumped up. I have a lot of energy. With so much bad energy in the world, you can still you protect yourself from that, and you're kicking, in life. You're just rocking it with new projects, saying you're going to be here, you're going to be there. What can you tell our audience, right, on how to maintain that energy and be vibrant and be excited for life? I don't know what your final words would be in motivating us to.
My final word is very, very easy to understand. And it's a saying that says, where focus goes, energy flows.
Yes.
And I, for example, don't have a television. I'm not interested in television at all. I don't watch the news. I don't listen to the news. I'm not interested at all. The second thing is that take good care of that temple, which is your body. And I don't know if I have it here. I on a daily basis, I got spirulina and wheatgrass on a daily basis. I do all of these rituals, meditation. I pray on a daily basis. I have these spirulina and wheatgrass. I listen to podcasts. I listen on a daily basis to keep my mind on such a high level so I don't get interrupted by all the negativity. Is there a lot of negativity out there? There's a massive amount of negativity out there. But where focus goes, energy flows. Take good care of your body. Make sure you sleep enough. Make sure you eat well. Do you know Joseph McClendon? He's collaborating with Tony Robbins.
I've heard his name.
Joseph McClendon III. He's 70 now. And I met him in London when he was 64. And it's longer ago. It's far more longer ago. Anyway, and I was backstage doing security for Tony, and Joseph McClendon was there as well. And he was jumping on a trampoline, jumping. And I said, man, you're in your 60s. Where do you get all that energy from? He says, man, if you do like me, you'll have the same energy. And I said, what is it? There's a very, like a little secret. He says, go for blue, go for green, and shake your ASS, right? I said, what do you mean by that? He says,
movement.
Blue. Yeah, go for blue, fresh air, still water. Go for green, raw vegetables, color green. and shake your ass, make at least 10,000 steps a day. If you do that on a daily basis, you have the energy I have, and it has to do with the alkalinity of your body. But I'm not going to go in that because we know we're already speaking for an hour. But the thing is, take good care of that temple and make sure to realize where focus goes, energy flows. And that's so important because what you put out there is what you attract. Does that make sense?
Oh, it
So
does. Surround yourself with positivity.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was taking notes again for our audience. I was typing it in the comments, taking notes. Wheatgrass, what was spirulina, fresh air,
Yeah.
movement. So that's what I'm gonna say instead of shaking your tushy. And then, which I'm a Latina, I love dancing, I love movement. Oh my goodness, I agree with that. Fresh air, nature. I love your project, Rene, your project about back to nature. And say that again because I was trying to back to nature
Resort.
a resort
.com.
singular or plural?
Just singular.
Singular. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'll make sure to post it there. I mean, I think everybody has had a great time with you, Rene. I don't know if
we've had a great time.
It's always a pleasure talking to you guys. It's amazing. I just love it. It's and I remember, like I said, for those who are just got into to this live stream, is that I met Laurie in Dallas in 23 and we had a taco at a Mexican. Oh my God, that was so, and then the conversation. I mean, you guys are amazing. You are rocking it.
So I have a question for our audience.
Thank you.
Would
Rene.
you guys love to see us do or have Rene at a retreat or us do a retreat at his
or yes,
resort?
or at a virtual retreat. Just for starters, there's a virtual retreat coming up, and maybe we can work out something. But you guys are awesome. Go ahead, Rene.
We can organize a retreat in the US at a certain location, and then
well, next summer you're welcome to come over here to my place. Yeah, because
exactly. I mean, I'm doing one. I will be doing one in Jamaica, one in Ibiza, in near Spain in February and March. But if you say, hey, let's do one in the US, come on, let's do it.
Yeah, so if you want to do one up here, if you do, you enjoy hiking and stuff, right?
Horse riding, name it, I'll do it.
Yeah, we have that here.
Very good, Rene. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being here too, Eva. I mean, and our audience watching. Constant. Oh, Sandra said yes, love it. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody is just so happy to have been here. Lots of value here, nuggets of wisdom, and we'll have you again. And we'll see you guys next time with another amazing guest. And like Tammy says, like and share. Go ahead, Tammy.
Thank you so much for being here. Yeah. We appreciate you. And like Lori just said, share and like. And we'll be posting this stuff in YouTube as well. So you can share that link. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye-bye.
For those who want to, they can connect as well. If they have questions, I'll answer the questions as much as I can. And thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.